The Trump administration is preparing to welcome the first group of white South Africans to the United States under refugee status. Here's what we know. According to the New York Times, the U.S. will admit groups of white South Africans whom President Trump has described as racially persecuted. On February 7th, Trump signed an executive order allowing South African citizens, specifically Afrikaners, to claim refugee status. The order cites South Africa's Expropriation Act 13 of 2024, which it describes as enabling racially discriminatory property confiscation, and claims the law disproportionately affects white South Africans. The executive order also announced an end to all U.S. financial assistance and foreign aid to South Africa. For context, Expropriation Act 13 of 2024 outlines the process for seizing private property for public use or in the public interest. It allows the compensation and, in certain cases, no compensation when deemed just and equitable. The act replaces South Africa's Expropriation Act of 1975. According to the New York Times, administration officials plan to meet the arriving South Africans at Washington Dulles International Airport in Virginia. Historically, the United States has granted refugee status primarily to people fleeing war, famine, or natural disasters. Early in his presidency, Trump suspended the U.S. refugee resettlement program. However, his administration later established a new process for white South Africans who claimed racial persecution. The New York Times suggested these applicants have been processed at faster than average rates. The American Immigration Council notes that the standard wait time for refugee applications ranges from 18 to 24 months.
59 South Africans just landed in America. They are refugees. They will be given full access and citizenship in America. They didn't have to buy a gold card. They didn't have to go through standard immigration channels. All they had to do was be born white. And while ICE rounds up brown children outside police departments, schools, and hospitals, Donald Trump is flying white people into America to get full benefits from your taxes. And all the people that have been working in your communities, buying things in your communities, paying taxes in your communities, all of those people he's trying to get rid of. Make it make sense, MAGA. Make ICE make sense. Make it make sense that ICE wakes up to deport brown people, immigrants, but not white people.
Yeah, the United States is about to see a lot more hate crime videos with South African accents. While Donald Trump is perfectly fine to insist that the US is full up and they don't need any more immigrants, when it's white immigrants, it's a different story. Now granting asylum to white Afrikaner South Africans on the basis of them being victims of racial discrimination. By racial discrimination, they of course mean the South African government trying to undo decades of apartheid-era policy. These well-dressed, well-fed, hyper-westernized white South Africans are not victims of anything. These are just white people who spent generations benefiting from an apartheid system that was designed to favor them. And I'm aware of the dispute that the white Afrikaners have with the South African government over the use of farmland. Thanks to generations of apartheid, the white Afrikaner farmers own 78% of the farmland in South Africa, a country which is 80% black. These white Afrikaners are not oppressed. Right? They got all of that land as a way of keeping wealth in white communities and away from black people. Now that the South African government is making efforts to undo that inequality, and these white people now have to share the same land, freedom, and privileges and rights as black people, suddenly they're all victims who need saving. None of these people look like they're especially in danger to me. They just look like they miss being able to say their favourite slurs in whites-only areas. Despite the US government overspending to the tune of $150 billion compared to the Biden administration, the US government is already agreeing to set them up with furnishing, household items, and housing the moment they get here. That's right, the United States is able to treat immigrants with human decency if they're white, share the same far-right prejudicial values as the Trump administration. Just saying, all those viral videos of people being racist in cars and in restaurants and in public parks and in bowling alleys and all of that, you're going to expect a lot more South African accents in the coming months. At the end of the day, when you're privileged, equality feels like oppression, and that's what they're running from, really.
Make this make sense. Trump wants to get rid of all the black and brown immigrants in this country, but yet he wants to import white refugees from South Africa. Make it make sense.
For anyone who has any problems with refugees, I do not want to hear you talk about the South African white refugees and be like, they're coming here legally, it's fine, because their own government even says that they are not vetted. Well, Donald Trump says that they are completely vetted. That's 100% untrue, according to the South African government. They also said that the people that claim that they are being genocided are actually pro-apartheid, and that's why they're moving to the United States. And they're saying straight up that it is a move for political advantage. The South African government also came out and said that it's really ironic that Trump is allowing the most economically privileged people from around the world to enter the United States while denying the most vulnerable people who are trying to immigrate to the United States. Like, let's be clear here. These people are becoming refugees to the United States specifically because they are upset that people are upset in South Africa that they are pro-apartheid. And yet Donald Trump will not accept any refugees that are actually coming here for detrimental circumstances. Again, it's just racism. That's all it is.
Mr. Crump, I was wondering if I'm able to get one of those whites only checks that you're about to cut for those white South Africans that's about to come over here. Because I know you about to cut them a check. I know they about to get the houses and the cars and the monies and stuff. And I was just wondering because I'm an American and I'm already here. You know, I've been here. I was born here. My family was and everything. And all of us, like, we struggle every damn day. And I'm not the only one. There's some other Americans here too. They all over the internet. So if you can find them, they here. They locally. Mr. Crump, we all suffering already. You already have a problem here that hasn't been fixed. Like, you know, homelessness, jobless, like no money, starving, stuff like that. Like little problems like that. I feel like that you could probably fix. But you gonna fix it for them South Africans. They about to have, you know, it easy. And I was just wondering if maybe you could have a little time to squeeze us up in there some type of way, you know, as the American people, like the problem that you haven't solved yet here. I was just wondering if you could squeeze us in and cut us one of those whites only checks that you're about to cut, because we struggling here. We refugees in our own country. And I just wondered if you thought about us when you was, you know what I'm saying. Can we get one of those? Can we get some of that you about to hand out?
So South Africa's own government is even coming out today and telling Trump, if you want to take on these refugees, that's on you. But just so you know, none of them have been properly vetted. A lot of them have been involved in protests that are pro-apartheid. And on top of that, these guys are actually claiming that they're being persecuted for being white. I don't know if you know a whole lot about South Africa, where Elon Musk is from, but the apartheid just ended not very long ago. If you don't know what that is, it was mass segregation. South Africa's government also came out and added that it's really hard to be a refugee of persecution when you're amongst the most highest earners and highly educated in the entire region. But in my personal opinion, this kind of gives me remnants of Operation Paperclip, what the U.S. government did after World War II. They got a little over 1,500 German scientists and high-ranking officials from the military, Hitler's military, to come over to the United States so they could learn from them. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 2 + 2 = 4. What Trump's been doing here in the United States as far as deporting individuals, they've all been brown people. And now he's more than willing to bring thousands of white people claiming they've been persecuted by brown people without even fully vetting them. The answer to this simple mathematical equation is Trump wants more white people in the United States. If it ain't white, it ain't right. And that's literally Trump's mindset. You can't prove me otherwise.
Sending private planes to pick up 8,000 Caucasian South African refugees when we're kicking people out that are in the middle of their immigration proceedings here in the U.S. now. Literally having people show up for their final steps of their immigration process and having them arrested, detained, and deported. Doesn't make any sense to me unless...
Why do we have to take these people? Why are they our problem? They're Dutch. They should get sent back to the Netherlands where they belong. I don't want to have to learn how to speak Dutch just so I can order a taco. Look at what they did in South Africa. You know, these are bad hombres. The only job they know how to do is owning the farms that their great-grandparents stole.
In case you're wondering whether there's any racism in the Trump administration, consider this wild fact. So you know how they've basically stopped anybody from coming to the United States claiming refugee status? Well, they've decided to put an asterisk on that, and they're going to allow 8,000 South African Afrikaners to come here as refugees. Those are white people, by the way. So why are the white South Africans allowed to be classified as refugees and come to the United States, but a refugee from El Salvador is not allowed to, or a refugee from Panama, or a refugee from Peru? Why aren't they allowed? Well, I'll give you it's one thing. They're brown, those South Africans are white. There is very little evidence that these Afrikaners are being persecuted at home. The government's saying, we're not doing anything. No one else seems to be able to confirm that fact. Yet the Trump administration is going to leapfrog those 8,000 Afrikaners into the United States in front of everybody else. Now, I would assume that all of the Trump supporters who are against all refugees coming to the United States are going to be outraged about this, right? Right?
Y'all, don't worry about these white South Africans coming here. They about to be the new help. You heard me. They are about to be the new help. They got rid of all the people tending the land. All the immigrants that were tending the land are gone. So what they about to do, replace them with the white South African workers. Y'all gonna be working to feed black folks. As y'all should. Get y'all asses over here and do y'all goddamn job. Y'all think y'all getting away from us. Y'all not. Y'all just gonna be working for us. Come on in the room. See, Trump knew he couldn't get our asses out there. There's no way in hell you're gonna get black folks out there to work no kind of land. But he could say, hey, these South Africans are being suppressed. Their land is being taken away from them. They need to come over here and seek retribution. And get y'all asses in the field where the fuck y'all belong. Make sure y'all picking every fucking vegetable and don't miss out on anything. Y'all not getting away from black folks. Y'all gonna be around us a lot more. And unlike the ones in South Africa, we don't give a fuck. You're not gonna be able to call us colored. You're gonna get your dome rocked. So be careful, tread lightly. And remember, we don't see you as African. We see you as colonizers of an apartheid. Welcome to America.
The devil works hard, but Elon must work harder. And I saw a bunch of videos of people saying how we are supposed to receive a bunch of new Africans. I hope I'm saying it right. But a bunch of white people who are in Africa are coming in as refugees. So I was like, hold on. Let me open the comment section and see what's happening. I opened the comment sections. A bunch of white Africans, as well as South Africans, they are in the comments saying, what are y'all talking about, refugees? These people are not refugees. They are not experiencing any racism in South Africa, because that's what the story is. That's what the Trump administration is saying, is that these people that are coming to America, they're flying in tonight. They're coming in tomorrow. They're saying that they are fleeing South Africa because they are experiencing racism from the black Africans there. When I tell you 2025 is 2025ing, because I don't have any other words. So we're about to have a bunch of Elon Musk coming in here. But I do want them to know that this ain't no South Africa. So y'all gonna be learning a whole lot of new things. I'm just gonna leave it as that.